Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Albers, and welcome here to This Week in Anderson. I'm joined with my co-host, Steve Ellis, and brought to you on the Big Guy Sports Podcast on USBN Sports, and really pumped and excited to have the best 80 in the city of Cincinnati with us, and Chris Newton. And Newt, man, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Well, sure. Thank you very much. Can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and thanks for letting me slip you that $50 so you can I appreciate that.
No, there's no doubt about it. I've been around a lot of them, and Steve will probably tell you the same thing. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind you are the best in the city of Cincinnati, no doubt.
Bar none.
We have fun.
So
we have fun.
So let's we kind of, what we do here is we kind of talk about basically Anderson and people living in Anderson and everything. But let's kind of talk about, before we went on air, we were kind of talking about the craziness that's going on right now with the coronavirus and all that stuff. How's the last couple of months been for you at Anderson High School? I'm sure it's been crazy.
Oh, it's been it's weird. It's been the best of times because I've got to be with my family more than I've ever in my life got to be with my family. Chrissy's not incredibly happy about that fact. But I've got to, my sons are home. One of my daughters is living at home. So that part has been awesome.
Yeah.
And so thankful for that. Not being at Anderson, that has been awful. That has been absolutely awful. And, not having any idea and not having any control of the situation has been very difficult. And there's nothing worse than when a kid contacts you and is willing and wanting to do things and you can't supply them with the answer that they want to hear. Yeah. And so that's been very difficult, but we've made it through that time. It's going to make us stronger. And most importantly, I think it's going to make people appreciate really what we have at Anderson High School and what we have in each other and stuff.
Absolutely.
Hey, Newt, I know if there's anybody in the city or in the state and the country that can handle this situation, I'm sure it's you. As much as you bring the positive impact to the community and to the students, and you took upon the whole construction project and how all
prepared me for that.
Yeah, and all the phone calls and emails. So I'm sure this is nothing to you. So I don't doubt what kind of job you're doing when it comes to this type of stuff. Hey, I got a question for you, Newt. Let's step back in time a little bit and try to let people know a little bit about you, and tell us a little bit about your days of playing sports at Turpin, being a 3-sport athlete that you promote so much now, and tell us about how all that progressed when you were at Turpin.
Well, and I absolutely loved being part of a team. And I was very fortunate in growing up that I had 2 older brothers, and I did not have a choice but to get involved in sports. Fortunately, I loved playing because my brothers would have just pounded me into submission if I wouldn't have played with them. And, and they took good care of me, and they showed me how to play every game there is, and I would get to go watch them play, and I'd play on the side and stuff like that. So I just remember my first year in T-ball. I remember they made me hit off a tee, and my dad always would tell me my T-ball experience lasted one day, one at bat. and they made me hit off a tee. And I told him I didn't want to do it ever again. And the coach said, well, you have to. And I said, well, I quit then. This is ridiculous.
That's it.
And so I always trying to, my role models were my brothers, and always trying to chase them and get involved in everything. So that's what led me to be able to play, football, basketball, and baseball. And I had incredible experiences at Turpin, playing with my teammates and my coaches. And I wouldn't know how to act if I wasn't involved in a sport. And so that was an incredible experience. And as it progressed to being a coach, the off season was terrible. I coached football and I coached baseball. My winter time was awful until I got the opportunity to coach my girls, and when they got old enough to coach them in basketball, and my son's in basketball, so that occupied my time there. But I could not imagine not having a season of sports to be involved in.
Right. Yeah. Well, so you were obviously a 3-sport athlete at Turpin. Excelled. What position did you play in football?
In football, I played running back, and I punted. And it was back in the days where we had leather helmets. Now, I kicked, I punted. I played running back, and then senior year I moved to receiver, and then I played safety. So
so you never came off the field, I bet.
No, it was the greatest thing in the world. I loved it.
Yep. And then in the basketball, you were
basketball. I was a distributor of the ball. I was not a shooter by any stretch of imagination. I definitely had more fouls per game than I had points. That's for sure.
Hey, Newt, talk a little bit real quick. Is that we all three go way back, and we've played against each other, and not only in Little League baseball and all that stuff, but we also obviously the playing against each other at Anderson Turpin, the rivalry. We were a little bit older than you, but still it was pretty cool to play against that. And what do you remember about that?
Oh, I mean, just incredible experiences. And that's what, I see that picture there. So I loved playing against friends. I loved playing, against you guys. And that's, to me, that's what makes the Turpin-Anderson rivalry awesome. The kids love it, and the kids thrive in it because they grew up together battling each other.
Right.
It's all the other people that don't have anything to do with the game that make it like a heated rivalry and all stuff like that. We want to, there's no doubt about it. We want to, when I was at Turpin, we wanted to beat Anderson in everything we did. And now that I'm here and bleed orange and black, I can't wait to stomp out the Bartell group. But I also know this, they're our best of friends, and I love that fact. So, like when we would play each other, it was fun. I mean, I loved it. And the conversation, I remember a good buddy of mine that went to McNick, Jeff Monteluciani, he absolutely smoked me one time going across the middle. And, and I'm like, dang, Monty, come on. He's like, oh, shoot, Newt, I didn't know it was you, man. I'm sorry. And stuff like that, and it was fun, the going back and forth. I remember playing against Steve and hoops and stuff like that. And you loved it. You cherished those times. And those are times I'll never forget.
That's right. Then you moved on to baseball, which, you excelled at football and basketball, but baseball seemed to fit you a little bit better. Probably your brothers probably had something to do with that.
Yeah.
And you went on to play in college at Division I down at UC. Tell us a little bit about that.
I did. I felt I was very fortunate that I played for a great John Basiliga. He was unbelievable coach.
Legendary.
In baseball, man. He's an unbelievable man, period. But he prepared me and got me ready to play college baseball, and was fortunate enough to land down at UC. And, things just worked out perfect. I have lived an incredibly charmed life. Without a doubt, I am the luckiest man in the world. And there was an all-world second baseman at UC, Pat Abbatella was his name, and he graduated, and I came in, and that spot was wide open. And, and I got a couple knocks here and there in the fall, and I just fell right into it. And so,
awesome.
I got to play, start for 4 years, and it was those experiences right there. A lot different than your high school experiences, because they're not your, they're your guys, your great guys, but they're not your neighborhood buddies.
Right.
And it is a business, it is a business in college athletics. And, you go 0 for 4, and sometimes you got great teammates, but, sometimes those guys aren't, oh man, you went 0 for 4. Oh, you went 0 for 8. Oh,
yeah.
Maybe I get an opportunity.
Right.
And they're looking for that.
Yeah.
And, they're still great teammates, but, everybody wants their own. Everybody wants a piece of their own.
Yep.
And so that was definitely different in those regards. But I loved my experiences down at UC, and we played. I mean, shoot, that's back in the Metro now. Those are the big boy days.
Mm-hmm.
We played,
Yep.
you know, Florida State, Southern Miss, Tulane,
Wow.
Virginia Tech, Memphis State,
South Carolina too, wasn't it?
South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, my one year, so there was 21 league games, I remember. And by gosh, you know, we had a pretty decent overall record. We were about 8 games under 500, I think. We beat all the teams up north. But the problem was we went 2-19 in the league. Our 2 wins were versus Louisville. But when you go down south, you know, it's just a totally different world down there playing those big boys.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, we'd go down there and we'd have 15 games in and they'd have 40.
Yeah.
And so that was, but you know what that did? That taught you, I love being the underdog. And there's nothing better to me than coming out, you know, being able to swing. Because when you're underdog, you're the first one that gets to swing now. Because the head guy's going, you swing first. And that's okay with me.
Okay.
You know, I'll be glad to swing first. And so, so we always use that as a chip on our shoulder. And so everywhere we went, we were the underdogs. And so that was fun.
Good.
Yeah, and you know, so then after that, you were at UC, and then kind of got into the teaching aspect of it, and talk a little bit how the path you went. Like I believe, did you start right off at Colerain right off the bat, or how did that all start with you?
I did. And again, I think maybe I mentioned once or twice I'm the luckiest man in the world, and it unfortunately my luck has been other individuals' unfortunate. And you know, I finished my playing days, and I was a grad assistant at UC, and I was sticking on, just finishing a couple classes, and I was coaching. And I get a call from a neighborhood friend of mine, or one of my best friend's brother, Rick Haynes, my brother's best friend, Rick Haynes. And I get a phone call from him in February. He's like, Newt, what are you doing? And I said, oh, just, you know, appreciate you calling, Rick. Man, it's great talking to you. He's like, we need a baseball coach at Colerain. I said, what? And in a very unfortunate accident, their JV baseball coach had passed away in a car crash, and they had to have a JV baseball coach within days.
Wow.
And my college coach knew that I wanted to get into high school coaching, and he knew I was going to teach. So he pulled some things and let me go out and coach at Colerain. So I went and interviewed and coached. And so I coached JV baseball. I made $51 a week. And I was married at the time. I was the breadwinner at making $51 a week. I always remember. My paycheck was $102 every other week. So, you know, I coached baseball, boom, moved on, and I was working Evans Landscaping, working for Doug Evans in the summer, not knowing what the heck I was going to do, and got a phone call one day that the guys from Colerain were looking for me and asked to come in for an interview, and went in and interviewed and got a teaching job. And from that day on, you know, was teaching science, 7th and 8th grade science, and then coaching high school football and baseball. And it was, I stayed there for 15 years, and those 15 years, I will, and my kids actually, and my wife and kids, cherish those times, because they were the greatest people in the world to me. I was a total outsider, and they accepted me, and we went on to do some pretty good things out there.
How was it with Kerry Combs coaching with him?
It was absolutely incredible, and I tell people this all the time. He is by far the most intelligent man I've ever met in my life. Really? And you know, before he woke up, there was a plan what he was going to do, and he, not only as a friend, but I mean, just to watch him, and I tried to model a lot of things that I did with my programs, just from the things that he did, and again, he just absolutely brilliant. And, you know, his wife was brilliant. His 3 kids were valedictorians, and he's just a good soul. And, you know, and he's crazy and he's all over the place. And that's the way he is at all times. It's not just a show. That was one of the biggest influences in my life. Rick Haynes, coaching with him as well, because he was our offense coordinator. But coaching with Rick and coaching with Gary was an incredible experience for me and helped me in my career for sure.
And I think someone here that's on the might have helped a little bit with the getting over to Anderson, maybe someone that's on this broadcast.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And I've told this story before. When the baseball job came open at Anderson High School in August, late August, I had some phone calls on my answering machine, and Newt, are you applying? And like I said, I loved Colerain. They were incredibly good to me, and I remember plain as day. I didn't apply, and the first week of September went by, and the second week of September went by, and I still didn't apply, and I was committed to. I mean, here I am teaching, and I was coaching football at the time. I mean, we're in the season,
right?
And I think I'm almost positive. I remember sitting at my desk in school during lunch, and I get a phone call from Steve Ellis, and you know, that was the turning point for me. Is, you know, what are you doing, Newt? You know, Chris, what are we doing here? Why are you not doing this? Well, you know, I'm pretty loyal to the people at Colerain. And in 1998, I applied for the Anderson baseball job. And few people know that, but I applied for the baseball job and interviewed for that as well. And I actually, and I was very honest with our, you know, principal at Colerain, and I went and interviewed for the job. And the next day she called me and said, can I talk to you? And I said, sure. And she goes, do you want to be the head baseball coach at Anderson, or you want to be the head baseball coach at Colerain? And at that point in time, I'm like, well, you know, I didn't know if I was going to get the Anderson job. So I'm like, yeah, I want to be at Colerain. She goes, well, good. Our head coach just retired. Congratulations. You know, so that was, so I called Randy Corbett and you know, and I remember, you know, the 5 words, you know, what are the 3 words or 5 words that describe yourself? And one of them was loyal. And I said, I'm sorry, you know, I'm pulling my name out, you know, I'm loyal to Colerain High School. So I still felt loyal to Colerain High School when you know, 2007 rolls around, and felt even more loyal. And Steve called me and really started to get me thinking. And then my brother called me and really kind of read me the riot act about what are you doing? And I said, I'm loyal to these kids. And he said, that's interesting. Do you think you maybe should be loyal to your own kids? And I thought, well, you might have a good point there. Because I couldn't continue to do what I was doing at Colerain, coaching both sports and be a part of their lives like I wanted to. And so I finally got the guts up to call, and they said, well, we're sorry, the job's full. You know, that we're not taking any more applications. I said, wow. Shoot, well, I guess, you know, that's the writing on the wall. I said, you know, just if something doesn't work out, if you don't mind, here's my number. And I got a call 15 minutes later and said, we would love to interview you.
Yes.
And interviewed, and it wasn't an easy thing. I will tell you that. It was not an easy thing because, you know, I'd taught some few years at Colerain. And so Steve Ellis got it started. And if it wasn't for Frank Brandy, this would have never got done. I would have never been able to, I don't think I would have ever been offered a job. So it was funny because I took the baseball job in October, but I was still teaching at Colerain.
Right.
And all baseball season long, man, Dr. Patswald, he'd stop and watch baseball games. Mrs. Carter would stop and watch baseball. I had more administrators watching baseball games than I'd ever had at Coleraine.
Wow.
And basically, I believe I was getting interviewed.
Yep.
Like, hey, are we going to bring this guy over or what? And yeah, about April 19th, I got a phone call to come talk to Mrs. Carter and met Holly Loudon, who is the greatest science department chairman in the world. And we sat down and interviewed, and I thought, okay, things went well. And Holly said, well, come here, let me show you some things. Went down, and she goes, would this work? And she opened the classroom door, and I'm not kidding you, the windows overlooked the baseball field. I said, so this is where I would teach? And she said, yeah. Is this okay? Holly, it might work.
Yes.
This might work. So
That's
was
awesome.
that's how I ended up here.
That's incredible. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Great story.
Lot of people involved. And again, Dr. Patswald, he took a chance on me because again, I had some years in. And nowadays that doesn't happen. And if it wasn't for Steve Ellis starting it, Frank Brandy, basically finalizing it with me, and people like Dr. Patswald taking a chance, I'd have never been here.
Well, I'm glad they all did. I can tell you that.
Me too.
Well, Chris, knowing you for just about all my life, I knew at that time you were the perfect guy for the job, and just your personality like that was ideal. And there was no one more happier than me that you were able to make that happen. So you spoke about your kids, Chris, and how that helped obviously cut down on some of your travel time and back and forth to Coleraine. Get us caught up on your kids right now, what they're up to.
Yeah. So, you're right. I mean, I saved an hour and a half of drive time every day that I got with my kids.
Right.
So, my oldest, Caitlin, is actually getting married July 26th.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Oh gosh, I'm in trouble. June 26th. She's getting married.
Don't be late.
So, that's been a little bit of a difficult situation because she's just going to get married with family and friends. And then the reception will be next year at the same time. So we've lucked out in a lot of those things.
Good.
She's marrying a young man, Bobby Calder, who's an Anderson Township guy. He went to Bartels Road. Yep. A great kid. We it's always weird. Who's your daughter dating and who's your daughter going to marry? And I got to tell you what, I can honestly say I would not have been able to pick a better person who I want in my family. So
that's great.
We are thrilled with that. But so Kate loves it. She teaches biology at King's High School and is the head soccer coach at King's High School.
Yes.
Cool.
So, and absolutely loves it. Kelsey is, and I'm going to catch myself on some of these ages. I know I am. I think she's 23, and she just graduated with her master's from Miami University, and she just passed her dietitian test. So she's a registered dietitian.
That's great.
Legal out there to go around and do that kind of stuff. And so she's currently looking for a job, and she's excited to get out there when things start to open back up again and get into that. Jake is going to be a senior at Miami, majoring in accounting.
That's
and
amazing.
Joey is going to be is a sophomore. He started at Miami and Miami was not for him. And he recognized it, and I'm very proud of him that he could recognize that he wanted to be part of something, and he just didn't feel like he was part of anything there. Wasn't going to do a fraternity or anything like that, but he wanted to be a part of a team, and was smart enough to realize a 5'10" on a good day, usually 5'8", 155-pound kid isn't going to be dynamite out there on the Miami football team. So he made some phone calls and he ended up transferring in January to the Mount and is going to play football there.
Oh, cool.
Sounds great.
And Joey his personality is he's happy, smiling all the time. He's the kind of kid that I can yell and scream at, and then he's like a dog. He'll bring the dog, the ball back for you to throw 5 minutes later. And he wasn't like that at all. And now he's back to doing that same thing. And the coaches and the team at Mount St. Joe couldn't have been better to him in accepting him in. So he's fired up and ready to go.
Good.
Awesome.
That's good. All right, so we're gonna try to wrap this up. I know we've been trying to keep this within the minutes. I knew it was going to be hard. I thought we might have to extend this because we could probably talk for hours here.
Oh, you better believe it, man. I got some stories on you guys now.
That's
Yeah. So we want to try to end this with give us 3 experiences or memories, your most memorable moments as a coach, a player, and then also as an AD.
Yeah. So, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, and you sent me the question to give me a little thought, and it's hard to come up with just 3, but I will say this, as a player, again, I loved being the underdog, and I remember in Kiwanis basketball, we had a really good team, and we were beating kids, beating teams, and a man named Frank Nimmo, who one of the best coaches I ever played for. He, my dad, and Mr. Bruner, who probably is the best coach I've ever played for in my life, Bill Bruner. They thought we were getting a little cocky, so they took us to the I don't even know what league it was. So we called ourselves the Sherwood Tigers. We're 6th graders thinking we're big and bad, beating everybody in Anderson Township, and we went down and we played in the City League. And I got to tell you what. We're playing Northside KSC. We're playing Bond Pad, Friars, and we're getting killed. We're getting killed, and it was one of the best experiences was being able to, even at a young age, being able to realize, man, I'm not a big fan of getting my butt kicked here. We got to figure something out. And we came back and we ended up winning the championship and all that. And I remember beating Northside KSC in the championship, and who beat us by like 30 and 40 earlier in the year and came back and beat them. Scotty Martin was there that coach for saying that he was a great player for them.
Yep.
And we ended up beating them. And it was just, it really sparked me to understand that if you put the work in, anything's possible. And that was awesome to experience that. But I mean, I had great experiences at Perpin and at UC. I mean, but that was one of my first really memorable moments in sport.
So how about as a coach?
Yeah, that one's a tough one. So I'll speak fast here on that one. One was I finally realized that I was my first year at Colerain. We were awful in baseball. First year as a head coach. 7-15 or something like that, just awful. And I was worried I wasn't going to be accepted. And then, we did bed checks and everything like that. Everybody had to call me on their home phone at by 11:55 and all that stuff.
Wow.
And so I get a phone call at 11:50. Brad Dorman calls me. Coach, I'm going to be late. We played at Amelia, doubleheader at Amelia the next day. I'm going to be late. I said, well, Brad, don't even bring your spikes tomorrow then. You'll be watching. He said, oh, Coach, but a bunch of us are going to be late. Well, you know what? A bunch of you aren't going to be playing. All right, Coach. I said, well, call me when you get home. I don't care what time it is. I need to know you got home and you're safe. And about 11:59, I hear a knock at my door, and it's my team outside my door with pillows and sleeping bags. They came to spend the night.
No way.
At that point, I knew I was accepted. And we went on to have a great one, 20+ games that year. But it was like the welcoming party that, number one, the kids wanted to do that. Number two, that parents trusted me and that their kids were coming to do that. And that was awesome. It felt me good. But I will tell you this, the greatest experience I've ever had with the team was the 2012 Anderson High School baseball team with Mitch Sayre. And that, Mitch was a young man that passed away his junior year. And we had a group of 14 seniors, Mitch being the 15th. And that year, everything, I mean, was perfect. I never had one problem with a kid, parent. Everything was awesome. Our kids were. And we just found ways to win. And I remember we won. We beat the Beaver Creek in this district championship. And I remember I wasn't jumping up and down and celebrating. I went and sat with with Chrissy and my kids and just watched them jump all over each other and celebrate. And it honestly, and I feel like a gosh darn sissy getting choked up. It was the best. It was the best feeling in the world watching that. So then we get beat in the next round in the regionals versus Moeller, and the bus is dead silent. We get into a bus wreck, and get off. I'm looking at the bus and all that stuff. And I get back on the bus, and I said, guys, that was Mitch Sayre. That was Mitch right there telling you guys to quit feeling sorry for yourselves and let's go. And I got to tell you what, that last 15 minutes of a bus ride was the best bus ride I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
And it was like they felt like they let Mitch down losing that regional game. And it was just, Mitch was still a part of us and we all knew it. And, and it's so weird. You asked me that and we're on interview and I just get a text, and I'm not going to share my text because I don't believe in sharing private text, but I got a text from a kid on that team today. He takes his boards, his final boards to become a surgeon tomorrow. And he texted to say thanks for helping him.
Wow.
And that's everybody on the team was like that.
Wow.
And it was the best. It was the greatest experience to be a part of that. The worst of experiences in that we lost a family member, a teammate in Mitch.
Right.
But it was the best experience. And that, as I said at Mitch's funeral, Mitch taught us, Mitch died, but he taught us how to live.
Right.
And that will always stick with me there. That the 2012 team is my famous team ever.
Newt, that's awesome. That just shows your emotion too. I would have been down like that too. I'm a pretty emotional guy too, and I get like that as well. And it just shows how much you care and how much everybody, like Steve and I, care much about you too as well. So it's pretty awesome. And those are some great stories. And
if my son Jake sees this, he's going to make fun of me for getting.
Oh man, we're older now. We're allowed to do that now.
That's right.
But we really appreciate it, and we love doing this, and hopefully we'll get more guys to participate in this. We just want everybody to understand about how great of a community we have in Anderson, and you're a big part of it, and we really appreciate you helping us out today.
It's the best community, and again, like I said, I was at Colerain for 15 years, and I love those people dearly, and that became a family to me. But there is nothing better than Anderson Township. And the school that we're a part of, again, there's no doubt I'm the luckiest man in the world I get to scream at kids every day. I get to, Abby Ellis and Sammy Ellis, I get to go scream at them and cheer them on, and don't tell anybody, but I can't believe I get paid to do this stuff.
Yeah.
It's the greatest job in the world. And to be a part of this community is incredible. And it's guys like you that are coming back and doing this for Anderson High School and the stuff that you guys do. Very lucky, very fortunate.
Yeah, we love it.
Chris, just let me say, obviously, how Danny and I feel about you, but you truly have changed the culture of Anderson High School as a whole, not just sports. And we're the actual lucky ones, and we're the ones benefiting from it, and it's only going to continue from here. So I thank you, my kids thank you, and they cherish you, and they look forward to seeing you. And can't tell how fired up Abby was yesterday when she got to see you. And that's first thing she said, that she got to see you. So that's the impact that you have. And I can't, as a friend, as a dad, as a resident, I can't be any more thankful to have you around. Yeah,
I appreciate my feelings for you and your entire family, and you to say that, I mean, how I feel about you. I mean,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. It's awesome.
I appreciate it, Chris. Again, man, it was awesome. Thanks for doing this, and hopefully you'll start having those kids come back in here to get some training going on. And
I believe it. It'll happen. It's gonna take us a little time to figure some schematics out, but we'll be back up here going. Sammy Ellis is gonna be cheering and dancing, and I got to tell you, Abby Ellis is gonna be playing soccer, and we're gonna have everything going.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So are we.
Being safe about it. That's for sure. We'll be safe. But we're gonna get after it.
All right, thanks, Chris. So we're going to wrap it up here. We were just going to make it under a minute of our cutoff here of 30 minutes. So
Talking about
I knew we'd be pretty close. So for Dan Albert, Steve Ellis, Chris Newton, you've been watching This Week in Anderson. We'll catch you next week with our next guest. Thanks, everybody.